Doctors, burnout does not mean that you are weak. It just means that you are carrying too much for too long. And if you are tired of temporary fixes, ready for the real solutions, in this video, I'm going to show you 5 proven ways to escape burnout and take control back of your life. I'm Dr. Simone Ellis, and after selling my dental practice and retiring at 40, I realized that I wasn't just running a business, I was running myself into the ground. And burnout nearly cost me my health, my relationships, and all sense of self. But I discovered powerful strategies to rebuild my life, and now I'm here to help you do the same. In this video, I'm gonna share 5 strategies that go beyond the surface to address the root cause of burnout. And by the end of this video, you're gonna have actionable tools to regain your energy, protect your mental health, and find joy in your work again. So burnout doesn't always scream at you. Sometimes it's whispering, and it starts off subtly in ways that you might not even realize it, because as doctors, we're just taught to power through, right? We wear exhaustion like it is a badge of honor, convincing ourselves that resilience is all about pushing harder. But here is the truth. Resilience without rest is a recipe for collapse. For me, burnout crept in quietly. I would tell myself that, waking up at 2 or 3 a.m., staring into space, replaying work stress in my head was just a part of this job. And I did not realize that I was running on fumes until my brain literally felt like it could not function. So I was forgetful, I was irritable and exhaustion, and those were just my new normals. And I wasn't just tired, y'all, I was really shutting down. And the first step for escaping burnout is recognizing these signs before they take over. So here's a few that you might not recognize or realize, and you need to connect it to burnout. So the first one is forgetfulness or brain fog. I would forget why I walked into a room, what task I was working on, and it wasn't just annoying. I really felt like I was losing control of my own mind. The next one is irritability or disconnection. So I would be snapping at my partner who just wanted to support me, and those conversations turned into complaints about work, and I stopped wanting to connect with them anymore. Burnout didn't just drain my energy, it damaged my relationships. The next one is escapism. So I would turn to anything that would just numb stress, like I thought that this was relaxing, but really I was avoiding a deeper issue. The next sign is loss of passion. So the joy I would feel of waking up and going into my office was completely gone. I would see patients and I would think, I really just don't care anymore. And this was a part of me that I was usually excited about. It had just completely disappeared. The fifth one is physical symptoms. My body was physically screaming at me. I would have headaches, muscle tension, and even heaviness in my chest, and it would not go away. And these weren't just random aches, y'all. These were my body begging me to slow down. So here's what I had to learn the hard way. Recognizing these signs are the first step for escaping burnout. And you cannot fix what you do not acknowledge. And so rest isn't just about sleeping more, it's about creating space for the disconnect from the chaos and reconnecting to yourself. And for me, this started off with little small intentional steps, like really taking a lunch break or stepping outside just to have the sun on my face. I want you to think about carving out 10 minutes in between patients just so you can breathe. So docs, I want to ask you, are you wearing exhaustion like it is a badge of honor? And are you proving your worth by how much you can actually endure? And if so, it is really time to let that go. Burnout does not mean that you failed. It is your body and your mind asking you to listen. Recognizing the signs of burnout are the first steps, but escaping the burnout trap means taking action. And that starts with boundaries that stick. For me, boundaries were non-existent. I would say yes to everything. Yes to adding more patients to the schedule. Yes to staying late to finish tasks that could have waited. Yes to saying I can handle it, even though I knew I was already drowning. And I thought that if I was a good doctor, I can put everybody in front of myself. Everyone else was more important than me. But here's what I learned. Every time I said yes to something that drained me, I was saying no to something that could have restored me. No to a lunch break, no to leaving the office on time to decompress, no to the rest and care that I desperately needed. And I remember I hit my breaking point one afternoon when I skipped lunch again. I was starving, I was irritable, I was running on fumes, and I remember snapping at a team member over something I don't even remember, it was something small. And then I like locked myself in my office and I was thinking, this is not who I want to be. And I hated it. I hated the feeling of it. And I knew that at that moment, like, I gotta make a change. Doctors, burnout often begins where your boundaries end. And the good news is that you do not have to overhaul your entire life overnight. You can start small. Saying no to working through lunch is not heroic, it's harmful. Turning down responsibilities that do not align with your goals or your values. Protect one evening for yourself a week, whether it's for rest or family or just doing something that you love. Because remember, boundaries do not make you selfish, they make you sustainable. You really cannot pour from an empty cup, and setting boundaries is how you start to refill it. Every boundary you set is a promise to yourself that I matter, and that promise can change everything. And y'all, let's not forget how corporations will work you to death. And remember, you will be replaced if you cannot perform the task. I want you to keep that in mind every single time they ask you to keep pushing boundaries, keep doing things that may damage your reputation, because it's your life on the line, not them. All right, so recognizing burnout and setting boundaries are critical first steps, but here's the truth. Boundaries mean nothing if you do not take the time to listen to what you actually need. And for years, I ignored my own needs. I thought as long as I kept showing up and powering through, I was fine. But I wasn't. I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't exercising, and I definitely wasn't prioritizing rest. I would turn to quick fixes like comfort food. Haagen-Dazs was my whole entire girlfriend. We went together real bad. I would have binges on TV. I would endlessly scroll through my phone, and I thought that I was relaxing, but really I was just numbing. For people who really know me, if I start traveling like a crazy person, that means that I'm trying to numb something. And I hit my lowest point when I just started passing out during dinner dates. Like, I would go out to dinner and I remember a date I went on with a guy and I literally passed out at the restaurant. And it was a nice restaurant, but I was so mentally and physically depleted. I couldn't even hold a conversation without my body shutting down. And that's when I realized I had just been ignoring all kinds of needs, my own needs. I had completely forgotten how to even listen to them. So doctors, this is where you take the next step, slowing down and asking yourself, what do I actually need right now? And it could really be something small. It could be a real meal instead of grabbing snacks between patients. It can be a walk outside to clear your head after a tough day. It could be an honest conversation with someone you trust. One of the things that I like to teach in coaching is creating that personal routine that helps doctors stay balanced, because the thing is that burnout doesn't happen overnight, and the results of getting balance back into it isn't gonna happen overnight either. It's little by little. And you have to start building those routines in your life, whether it's a morning ritual or like a daily check-in, and dedicating time for self-care that's gonna really help you stay aligned and resilient. And if you are struggling to find balance and do not know where to start, I'd absolutely love to help. Check out my website at Dr. Simone Ellis, where I teach a lot with my doctors on how to build those systems that work for you. Docs, your needs are not a weakness. They are literally a roadmap to your healing. And I need you guys to start listening to them and build routines around them and watch how your life completely changes. So as we just talked about, listening to your needs is essential, but truly escaping burnout, you're gonna need to take it one more step further by creating routines that help you keep balanced. Burnout often sets in where chaos takes over, and without structure, it's really easy to lose yourself in the demands of the day. So one of the transformational routines that I've introduced to my clients is become a part of that 5 a.m. club. For my people, they know I like to get up at 4:20, and the idea is simple, but it is powerful. When you start your day off before the rest of the world starts pulling at you, you really do have an opportunity to spend time reflecting and creating a space of clarity before chaos begins. And one of my clients, I remember she used to tell me, I have insomnia and I always feel like I'm behind the day. And before I was like, hey, let's remove the TV out of your room, and let's also commit to you waking up early but getting a good night's sleep. And so after she started to reclaim her mornings, she started showing up with more energy and more focus and more confidence. And another client I shared this early hours with became her sacred time. It's like a moment for herself to connect to herself, And it really created this really great dopamine rush of feeling great, because this isn't just a feel-good routine. It is where the top leaders of the world stay in this space. It helps them for clarity and focus and a sense of calm. So doctors, burnout thrives in chaos, but routines will bring it back into order. And if you are waking up at 5 a.m. or you feel like waking up at 5 a.m. is too much of a stress, just start off small, right? Just wake up 30 minutes earlier than you usually are and sit with just a cup of tea or coffee and plan out your day. I like to use the 30-minute rule and break it down into 10-minute increments. So 10 minutes meditating or praying, 10 minutes stretching, or 10 minutes of writing gratitude. And the goal is just to create this space that's for you to have time to set the tone for the day. Remember, routines aren't about being rigid. They are about giving yourself clarity and the calm that you need to thrive, because clarity before chaos, right? That's the goal. Clarity before chaos. And that is the secret from staying balanced. And when you own your mornings, you are taking the first step towards owning your life. Recognizing burnout, setting boundaries, and listening to your needs and building routines are all powerful steps. And here's the last truth. Without right support, it's easy to fall back into that same cycle. And that is why engaging in your support system is the ultimate game changer. For a long time, I thought that asking for help meant that I was failing. And I would tell myself, like, you're a doctor, you're supposed to have it all together. But the truth is I didn't, right? The more time I had trying to handle everything myself, the deeper I sank into burnout. And I needed someone to help guide me, challenge me, and even help me rebuild. And that's where I leaned into coaching. So here's the thing. We will invest in so many things, from our homes, our vacations, even our wardrobes, but we often forget to invest in ourselves. And coaching was the missing piece for me that I didn't know I needed. It really did give me tools and structure and accountability to finally break free from that burnout. And without it, I think I'd still be stuck in that same cycle of exhaustion and overwhelm. And one of the reasons why I am so passionate about this step is because our industry can no longer afford to ignore it. Doctors, we have one of the highest suicide rate problems in any profession, and it breaks my heart to know that many of us are suffering in silence, thinking there is no way out. But there is help, and seeking it isn't a weakness, it is truly a strength. And doctors, your support system might be a trusted colleague or a mentor, a family member or a friend who reminds you of your humanity, or the game changer, a coach or therapist who can help guide you out of chaos and create a life that truly works. Investing in yourself is the most important investment that you will ever make, because when you are at your best, everyone around you benefits. Your patients, your team, your family, and most importantly, you benefit. I lean heavily into coaching because I recognize that without this structure, I would still be stuck in the cycle. And I didn't want anyone in our profession to keep living in burnout and feeling like they had no way out. Because burnout does not have to end in tragedy. It can really just be the beginning of a new chapter. Doc, strength is not suffering in silence. It really is about reaching out when you need help. And when you invest in yourself, you invest in your freedom, your clarity, and your future. Docs, you have spent years in school and sacrificed so much to get to where you are today. And you really do deserve a life that feels as fulfilling as the one you dreamed of. And it started on this journey. And burnout does not have to be the end. It could just be the start of something better. And if you are really ready to take those next steps, I really do invite you to visit my website at drSimoneEllis.com and attend one of my webinars, because in these sessions, I'll walk you through how to create a systematic approach of escaping burnout and building the life you truly deserve. Because here is the real truth. No one is going to make these changes for you. It really does start with you. Burnout does not define your story. It is just a sign that something's need to change, and that change can start today. The life that you want is waiting for you on the other side of burnout. If you found this video to be helpful and you want more of it like it, check out our next video on how I retired at 40 and how you can too, where I share actionable steps on creating a life of freedom and purpose. And don't forget to like and subscribe this channel, guys, for more resources and tailored for healthcare professionals ready to build a better life. Share this with your friends and your colleagues in the industry, because we are all deserving of a life that we love.